Narayana namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. So we are in the second canto, and we concluded three chapters of the second canto in the previous sessions. And at this time, what we are doing is basically wanting to have a further discussion on the third chapter as well, as we did last week. And then we would be going on from the third to the remaining part of the second canto. The second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is considered to be the lotus feet of the Lord. And as a consequence, Srila Sukadeva Goswami is encouraging that those of us who have an agitated mind should fix ourselves in the first two cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So what we are doing is we are basically going through a series of discussions, and the series of discussions is being led by the motivations that are being given by Srila Sukadeva Goswami. In the second canto, we began with a discussion of what is one supposed to do if they are awaiting death. And this discussion basically was due to the fact that Parikshit Maharaj was basically wanting to understand what is it one is supposed to do if one is supposed to prepare for the leaving of the body within a short span. Now, who qualifies for such a discussion? Who is it in this world who qualifies for such a discussion? That's practically anyone and everyone who has taken birth on the planet qualifies for a discussion on what to do and how to prepare to make a transition. So in the previous discussion, we spoke of the fact that what is easy for one student becomes difficult for another student. Why is it easy for some? It's easy for some because they are preparing throughout the year to take the transition. If a student is preparing throughout the year to take the final exams, then they have no fear. They are in fact very eager to take the final exams. But if a student is not prepared throughout the year but wants to prepare in the last minute, they become very overwhelmed. So the message that is being consistently given in the Srimad Bhagavatam is that this situation of preparation for the final transition is like that of a student who needs to prepare on a daily basis. If we confidently prepare ourselves on a daily basis and then take exams that are being given, life is an exam, life is a classroom in so many ways. As we take the exams of life whilst keeping our faith, whilst being very firmly anchored in Krishna consciousness whilst facing life, then what does happen is that the transition is something to look forward to. No student who has been a steady student, who has been very good in their classes, who have been preparing, would want to miss the final exam. Everybody wants to graduate. The graduation is being looked on, it is being looked for because the transition is going to make things clear for them. So it's very important for us to understand that the transition itself is like a final exam. And when you prepare for the final exam on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a quarterly basis, on a semi-monthly, and so on and so forth, then what does happen is that at the time of the exam, one is eager to take the exam to prove their preparation. One is eager to make a transition. One is eager to know what is the next service. Because in our situation, we are simply moving from one service environment to another. If we are serving very steadily, Srila Prabhupada is already preaching elsewhere. He would take us from here and he would take us elsewhere to assist him in his mission. If Srila Prabhupada wants us to return to the spiritual sky, we return to the spiritual sky. Whatever Srila Prabhupada wants, we are going to be participating in because that's our position. We are simply positioning ourselves so that Srila Prabhupada could do whatever he pleases with us. This is surrender. And what is the first principle of surrender? The first principle of surrender is to be able to follow the instructions of the spiritual master, to be able to follow the most basic fundamental instructions of the spiritual master. So in this particular discussion, the discussion itself starts off with a few questions by Shaunaka Rishi. So there are different variations of the Srimad Bhagavatam. First, we talk about the discussion between Srila Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. This is the original discussion. The next discussion is amongst the audience in Naimisharanya, where Sri Sutta Goswami discusses the original discussion with Shaunaka Rishi and other participants. So two discussions are occurring in parallel. There is a discussion which is being described of Parikshit Maharaj with Sukadev Goswami. There is a discussion that is described between Sutta Goswami and the audience in Naimisharanya. Srila Sutta Goswami was one of the few fortunate sages who were participants when Srila Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadev Goswami were discussing the Srimad Bhagavatam. So he gathered the Srimad Bhagavatam into his heart by that original discussion. He carried the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then he has a second discussion. The second discussion is between Sutta Goswami and the sages in Naimisharanya. So we see different shifts occur in the same chapter. In the first part of the chapter, you see Srila Sukadev Goswami speaking. In the second part of the chapter, you see an accounting of what else happened in that discussion. That question comes up from Shaunaka Rishi. He is asking Sutta Goswami, what else happened? Now, what is very interesting about the second part of the discussion is that Shaunaka Rishi is basically questioning Sutta Goswami, and he's saying, Srila Sukadev Goswami established the fact that if you are without any desires, if you are without any material desires, and what is the meaning of being without material desires? Being without material desires means you're already on the liberated platform. If one is already on the liberated platform, that is akama. If one is on the path to be liberated, moksha kama. If one is sarvakama, filled with material desires, he establishes the fact that in all circumstances, please worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam, throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will see different instances of participants in Srimad Bhagavatam worshipping Krishna for different purposes. Some of them fall in the category of akama, those who are liberated. Some of them fall in the category of moksha kama, wanting to be liberated. Some of them fall into the category of sarvakama, wanting to be fulfilled in material desires. You find three accommodations in Srimad Bhagavatam. And in all three accommodations, they discuss goals, they discuss the mode of worship, and then they discuss the result. In the case of sarvakama, where someone is worshipping Krishna with the purpose of fulfilling material desires, what is the difficulty? The difficulty is the material desires become the bigger goal. Krishna is not the goal. Krishna is a means to an end. Krishna is a means to an end in sarvakama. If someone wants to achieve something, which is karma kanda, which is karma mishra bhakti, where they want to achieve things, but at the consequence, they want to basically engage in bhakti. Bhakti is required for everything. If you want to succeed, everybody requires bhakti. The jnani requires bhakti to succeed on the path of moksha kama. The jnani knows that fulfilling desires in the material world is a waste of time. So he's superior to the karmi. So for the moksha kami, jnani, you need to worship Krishna. Bhakti is required. To be successful, bhakti is required. What is bhakti? The extent to which one is able to dedicate themselves to the process of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti to such an extent they would be rewarded regardless of where they're going, what is the goal. So if you're moksha kama, where this is a jnani who has understood that the whole world is basically a waste of time, I would just be stepping from one situation to the another. At some point during Brahma's day, things are going to collapse. So as a consequence, I want to proceed towards the spiritual sky. If that is the objective, then that particular jnani is also going to be requiring bhakti. He's going to engage in the worship of deities. He's going to engage in the chanting. But he is going to do all of this with the objective of leaving the material world. So what is the objective of the jnani? Purification is the objective of the jnani. Is purification the objective of the followers of Lord Chaitanya? No. Purification for us is a means to an end. We want to establish a relationship with Krishna. Purification is a means to an end. So the mokshakami wants to approach Krishna for the purpose of purification. They will worship the deities so that their existence in the material world, their interactions with material nature is all completely subdued and is free from the lower modes, and they're able to elevate themselves. This requires bhakti. This requires dedication. This is why this requires bhakti, because there's a particular procedure. They worship the deity, they worship, they chant, they do everything. But their objective is to purify themselves of the influence of material nature, which essentially means that they want to leave material nature. They want to be freed from material nature. This is their objective. They want to be freed from material nature. They need bhakti. They want bhakti, they need bhakti. They basically also are finding that bhakti is very important for that purpose. Now look at the Sarvakami. Sarvakami is a materialist. The materialist is setting up an objective. The materialist wants to achieve something. This is Karma Mishra Bhakti. The first category is Jnana Mishra Bhakti. You require bhakti, but at the same time, there's a lot of focus on moksha. There's a lot of focus on wanting to be free from the influence of material nature. The second part is Karma Mishra Bhakti. Karma Mishra Bhakti is where there is bhakti involved because they're worshipping the Lord, but at the same time, there's a mixture of material objectives. What is the difficulty? In the first category, Krishna was used for purification. In the second category, Krishna is being used to achieve things. In both categories, Krishna is not the goal. Krishna is the means to the end. Krishna is like an instrument, a vehicle which takes one from one point to another. That is the reason why Srila Rupa Goswami is very clear. He says, Anya Bilashita Shunyam. Anya Bilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. The foundation for the fundamental essence of Bhakti Yoga as taught by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes from Srimad Bhagavatam. It comes from the discussion between Srila Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, who are establishing goals. So Srila Sukadev Goswami in the second chapter, second canto, starts with saying that if you are a material novice, you need to meditate on the universal form. Because when you meditate on the universal form, which is basically the extension of Krishna and the separated energies within this universe, then you will have the ability to understand that everything is connected to Krishna. So that is the fundamental first step for someone who wants to become God conscious. They meditate on the universal form. That is not recommended for us because it is not required. We have received a lot more. The next step is for us basically to understand that we can meditate on the Lord in the heart. This is the objective of the yogi. Here, Srila Sukadev Goswami is practically giving instructions on how to purify oneself and then focus on the Lord in the heart. In the third chapter, he's talking about devotional service. And when he talks about devotional service, he's talking about Sarvakama, Mokshakama, and Akama, right? He's talking about Sarvakama, Mokshakama, and Akama. He's basically saying all these three categories, even if you have all kinds of material desires, even if you want to be free from the material influence, and even if you are materially liberated, you don't have anything to do with this material universe, in all three circumstances, please approach Krishna. Please approach Krishna. So the question then becomes as to what is the benefit for a liberated soul? In the first category, you have Sarvakama. Sarvakama is one who has all kinds of material desires. This is not recommended for us in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why? Because when you are Sarvakama, the Kama becomes bigger than Krishna. Krishna becomes an instrument. He is a means to an end. That's why it's not recommended. Anya Bilashita Shunyam. It interferes with Shuddha Bhakti. It interferes with Shuddha Bhakti because the objective becomes much bigger than the Lord. The objective becomes much bigger than the deities. In the second category, it is moksha kama. The idea is to purify oneself from the influence of the lower modes. I want to be liberated. I want to be liberated. Is this encouraged by Srila Rupa Goswami? No, because even in the second category, the deity of the Lord, Krishna himself, is a means to an end. The jnani wants to purify themselves. They desire moksha. They are desiring the freedom from the influence of material energy, but Krishna is an instrument. Krishna is not the objective. So this is rejected by our acharyas. The third category is that which is akama, one who has absolutely no material desire. This is not possible unless one is liberated. So the question is, what is the benefit for a person who is already liberated? They have no material desires. They do not want to leave the material world because they're already free from the influence of the material world. So what is the benefit of devotional service for one who is liberated? This is actually a very, very powerful question that we want to consider. We want to basically think about. What is the benefit for one who is liberated? One can understand the benefit of devotional service and coming in touch with Krishna for one who has all kinds of material desires. Not recommended for us. We can understand the objective of one who wants to get purified. Not recommended. Purification is not the objective of Krishna consciousness. We hear about this all the time, about the pure devotee. Our definition of a pure devotee is very different. Very different. Please be very careful in understanding the different aspects of goals in Krishna consciousness. There are different goals for which Krishna could be worshipped. There are different temples in India, different sects in India, where Krishna is worshipped and the training is being given for different purposes. What is the difference between them and Mahaprabhu's movement? What is it which is being given by Mahaprabhu? Why is it that our Siddhanta and our temples which follow in the footsteps of Mahaprabhu are different from the other temples within Bharatvarsha who worship Radha and Krishna? Because in the other temples, there's either moksha kama or the objective is sarva kama. It is Mishra Bhakti at some level. In our temples, the objective, or in our movement, the Siddhanta, the objective is not to attain material benefits. The objective is not to purify ourselves. Purification is a means to an end for us. It is not the end itself, but for someone else, purification is the goal. So that's why it's important to understand what's in this for those who are purified. There are liberated souls. There are souls who are liberated. Please understand that today we are just 5,000 years into Kali Yuga. In one day of Lord Brahma, there are 1,000 yuga cycles. There are 1,000 yuga cycles in one day of Lord Brahma. 1,000 Satya Yugas, 1,000 Treta, 1,000 Dwapara. There are so many yuga cycles in one day of Lord Brahma. So those who existed in the Satya Yugas previous to us, they are also in this particular planet. They are in different higher locations. Some of them are in Satya Yuga. They are practically liberated. They're waiting for the dissolution so that they could go back to the spiritual sky. So what is the benefit of pure devotional service as given by Mahaprabhu? What is the glorious nature of what's being offered to us? What is the greatest benefit which is being given to us, which is so special that even a liberated soul would find it very, very alluring? Srila Rupa Goswami is rejecting Jnana Mishra and Karma Mishra Bhakti. Here, Shukadev Goswami is saying, it is okay if you want to attain things in this world, worship Krishna. If you want to leave this world, worship Krishna. But that doesn't mean that he is saying that is the gold standard. We don't want to get it mixed up. That is not the gold standard. That is not the standard given by Srila Rupa Goswami. What he is giving here is saying, regardless of what you want to do, worship Krishna. Regardless, if you want to attain things within this world, worship him. If you want to leave this world, worship him. So we need to understand what is it which is so special about Krishna consciousness as delivered to us by Mahaprabhu, that even a liberated soul within this universe can be attracted to it. Srila Sukadev Goswami was liberated. What was so attractive about Krishna consciousness, about the Srimad Bhagavatam, that he was so allured and attracted to it? We need to understand this. What is it which is different beyond liberation? What happens beyond liberation? Liberation is not our goal. That's why I'm saying purification is not a goal. That's why Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is also talking about the fact that contaminations in the heart, which are material desires, we call it anarthas. So very early into the process of Krishna consciousness, anartha nivritti is supposed to take place. Anartha nivritti takes place at a very early stage before the gifts of Krishna consciousness are experienced. For us, our heart being filled with sarvakama and trying to engage in sadhana bhakti is a very preliminary step, and that falls into the offenses committed when chanting Harinam. This is namaprad. If you want to equate the three different goals with stages of nam, this is namaprad. One who is namapradi, they will have material desires in their heart. When you reach the stage of namabhas, one experiences liberation. One experiences liberation. One is freed from the influence of material nature. How do you recognize this? When you chant Harinam. When you chant Harinam, when we chant Harinam during the stages of Anartha Nivritti, most of the time during the japa session goes towards pushing our thoughts into place. There's severe mental agitation. The agitation of the mind practically envelops and takes energy out from the chanting process. We are in a battlefield. The 2 hours of chanting of japa is a battlefield for most devotees. Why is it so? It's because they are battling with so many different agitations of the mind. They are battling the agitations of the mind during the 2-hour session. So the 2-hour session or 2.5-hour session, depending on how long you take to chant japa, a lot of time goes in just controlling, subduing, bringing the mind into normalcy. A lot of time and energy just goes into making the mind pacified so that we could chant. This is because the mind is filled with all kinds of agitation. Consider this, that you're climbing a peak, you're scaling a peak. And when you're scaling a peak, you're climbing, you're putting in efforts. A lot of effort goes on in putting efforts in climbing a peak. And as you climb a peak, the effort and the struggles of the peak climbing become more evident in the early stages. So there's a lot of effort being put in just subduing the mind and its agitations. If the mind is in the mode of ignorance, it is in fear. If the mind is in the mode of ignorance, is in touch with the mode of ignorance, it experiences fear. If the mind is in the mode of passion or is in touch fully with the mode of passion, it is agitated with sexual desires. It is agitated with different kinds of, the Acharyas in the second canto, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he doesn't classify the idea of agitation of the mind into different buckets. He says the mind is agitated, it's because there are sexual desires. There's some disturbance in the lower psychic centers of the subtle body. We spoke about it. There is disturbance and there's imbalance in the lower psychic center of the subtle body. We spoke about it a couple of sessions back. So there's a lot of mental agitation while chanting. If there is a lot of influence of the mode of ignorance, then there's fear. There's fears, all kinds of phobias. If there's mode of passion, there's so much anxiety. So due to this mode of passion and mode of ignorance, the japa session that we go through, for most part, just involves a struggle. It's a struggle to pacify and bring the mind at least to the platform of goodness, or a platform which is predominated by goodness, so that we could chant some few rounds of nama in a proper way. Otherwise, it's just agitation. When the acharyas say that Harinam is sweet, when they say that Harinam is sweet and they are swimming in a nectarian ocean of Harinam, they are not making it up. They are not giving us metaphors. Harinam is sweet. It is sweet. Harinam is sweet. If there's a sincere chanter who is not influenced by ignorance, who is not influenced by the mode of passion, they have the ability to chant Harinam and experience the sweetness of Harinam. So for us in Anartha Nivritti, for most part, it is just a struggle. It's a huge struggle. When we leave Anartha Nivritti and we reach the Namabhas stage, we are not committing Namaparad anymore. Our mind is not being agitated by all kinds of desires that are fulfilled or all kinds of desires that we are afraid would not be fulfilled. Our mind is not being agitated because the senses are so active that they're agitating the mind. We are in a much better place during Namabhas. In Namabhas, consider this, we have moved away from the influence of the mode of ignorance. We have moved away from the influence of the mode of passion. We are now predominating ourselves and our consciousness in the mode of goodness. Think of it as some kind of a big mountain that we have scaled. We have gone up from the bottom of the mountain to the top. We are not at the peak. We are not at the peak, but we are reaching and scaling heights. As we are scaling heights, the influence of the lower part of the mountain becomes less and less evident. We are exhilarated because we are filled with a lot of energy and we are able to do a lot more than we thought we could. Think of it that way, that in Namabhas, the influence of the mode of ignorance and mode of passion is highly, highly subdued. It is subdued to the point where it's predominated by the mode of goodness. When we are predominated by the mode of goodness, we experience the sweetness of Nam. The mode of goodness is sweet. We experience the sweetness of Nam in the higher mode of goodness. So for us, a transition from Anartha Nivritti to Namabhas is a transition from Sarvakama to Moksha Kama. Does it make sense? While you are in Anartha Nivritti, you're wanting to be free from these particular disturbances. Very quickly in Namabhas, we reach the point of experiencing what a liberated soul would experience. Offenseless chanting of Harinam is practically a circumstance where the offenses that are being committed are not tainted by the lower modes. Sorry, the influence of the mind is not tainted by the lower modes. We are not in touch with the lower modes. So why would you, as a practitioner of bhakti in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, set a goal for Anartha Nivritti or for Namabhas? Why on earth would we settle for Namabhas? Why on earth would we settle for something which is an intermediate step in our sadhana? This is an intermediate step. Moksha is an intermediate step. We are not interested in moksha because moksha comes to us when we are free from anartha. Harinam has the capacity to give us Anartha Nivritti. Harinam has the capacity to give us Namabhas and beyond. Harinam is Krishna himself. We are wanting to establish a relationship with him. So for one who is already liberated, one who is akama, what is missing in their life is rasa, relationship with Krishna. That's why for us, moksha itself has no meaning. Why doesn't it have meaning? Because if there is no relationship with Krishna, what's the point in being liberated? So for us, the whole concept of being freed from material influence is simply a platform for us to interact so that we could serve Krishna better. So as we proceed from Anartha Nivritti and we reach the point of Nishtha, becoming fixed, one cannot be fixed unless you reach the higher modes of goodness. Because if you're in the lower level, then there is going to be a constant tug of war and expansion of energy in simply subduing passion and overcoming ignorance. There's going to be so much energy just going to be put in just to subdue the lower nature. So once we reach the platform of goodness, then we become steady in contributing fully to the practice of chanting Harinam. And when we contribute fully to the practice of chanting Harinam, that is practically equated to a liberated soul. One who is in Nishta is at the highest levels of the material universe. A devotee on this planet who is Nishta, who is in Nishta, who is fixed in his relationship with Krishna, who is fixed in his relationship with Nam, his position is like being in the highest level of this material universe. He is in the same level as the higher planets like Tapoloka, Jnanaloka, the Satyaloka planets of the material universe, the planets that do not get destroyed during the daily dissolution, because his consciousness has surpassed the higher planets. He is at the entrance, the gate to the spiritual sky. He has already traversed the lower universes. He is not influenced by the hellish planets. He is not influenced by Swarga. He has crossed Swarga. Then there's Maharloka, where the great saintly personalities live. He is associating there. He is going higher and higher and higher. And he is reaching the point of Satyaloka. The point being, the material universe is created in steps and pieces of different levels of consciousness. If our consciousness is in the level of Maharloka, then we have the ability to see things in Maharloka. If our consciousness is at the level of Satyaloka, then we have the ability to interact with the Creator. So those who are fixed in Krishna consciousness, who have reached the point of Nishta, this is an advanced stage because they have overcome the effects of the lower modes of nature. They have already traversed the lower modes of nature and they have reached the pinnacle of the material universe. They are there. And at that point in time, there is very little that they get disturbed by. There's a full contribution to Krishna consciousness. When they're chanting Harinam, to give you an example, they are fully absorbed, their senses are absorbed. They could sit in a very crowded place and they could be completely absorbed in Nam. They would not be influenced because their absorption, the mind and the senses have no influence on them. There is no influence. The mind has no say as you go higher. The mind has no say as you go higher. This is the power of Harinam. So this is the reason why there's a difference between being Sarvakama, filled with material desires. This is nothing but the stage of Anartha Nivrti for us, because we all come in with Sarvakama. In most cases, we come into this particular process with Sarvakama. We want to achieve this, achieve that in the material world. This is Sarvakama. We take up the practice of Krishna consciousness. This is not being discouraged. It is being encouraged by Sukadeva Goswami. And then slowly, steadily, as our consciousness improves, then we reach the point of saying that whatever objectives that we had is actually quite meaningless. Then we start desiring to move away from the material paradigm. We notice this. Some of us become disinterested in life. We become disinterested in work. We become disinterested in what we were very interested in before we came into Krishna consciousness. So the flavors differ. Why? Because our consciousness has shifted from the lower modes and it has reached the point of experiencing the higher mode. Slowly. Now we are desiring freedom from all kinds of material phenomena. We are desiring freedom from all kinds of material phenomena. What is this? This is nothing but moksha kama. Is this encouraged? No, but Srila Sukadeva Goswami says, even if you have that desire, worship Krishna. That's why Srila Rupa Goswami constantly is telling us to watch out what's going on in the heart. We come in as Sarvakama, we worship Krishna with all kinds of material desires. Some of those desires are granted. This is nothing but the stage of Anartha Nivrti. Then we reach the point of being freed from all of this to a large extent. We become frustrated because nothing comes through in many ways. Fortunately or unfortunately, we go through a lot of frustration because things don't work out. And as a consequence, we then believe in moving forward, saying, yes, we have Krishna consciousness, which is supreme. There might be material success and there might be a lot of material defeat, but we have been given a process which transcends and which surpasses every other goal which one can think of. What we have been given is what lifetimes of dedication. The yogis have dedicated lifetimes for what we have been given. They have practically walked out of their home and said what the material world has to offer is of no value. And they're focused on what we have been given. What we have been given, they have taken it up as a sole focus, sole lifetime objective. Why? Because it's worthy. Because it's worthy of such an effort. It's worthy of such a focus. So the process of sarvakama is equated to anartha nivritti. So just imagine, we are trying to say, these are anarthas, I want to give up these anarthas. But that is what is sarvakama. Desiring all kinds of things in this material world is nothing but what we reject and we want to remove and follow the process of anartha nivritti. Moksha kama is nothing but the objective of being freed from the influence of ignorance and passion and being able to situate ourselves and being able to speak Harinam. This is Moksha Kama. This is Namabas, where most of the struggle is over, and then we are wanting a position where we just want to focus on Harinam. Examine yourself, and you will find yourself that this is what you're trying to achieve. You've gone from Sarvakama to Moksha Kama. Rupa Goswami is rejecting that as well, but doesn't matter. We are still worshipping Krishna. So predominantly, we are now rejected Sarvakama. Now we are going into Moksha Kama, and we are saying, I want to be freed from all of this. But is that the objective? The answer is no. Because for us, even for us, life begins when we are freed from the influence of passion and ignorance. That's when we are really alive, when we can hear Nam, when we can experience Nam, when we can serve, and when we can experience deities, when we can understand and feel that there is a certain way to live Srimad Bhagavatam. Living scripture is very different from reading scripture. Living scripture is to be actually able to experience scripture. For us to be able to experience scripture, we see this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see devotees experiencing ecstasy. They are in prema. That is theoretical to us. But being able to live that is the objective of Krishna consciousness. So for someone who is liberated, he is equated to the devotees on the planet who are in the stage of Namabas. Why wouldn't Krishna consciousness be attractive? Because from the stage of Namabas, they have the ability to increase their Krishna Sambandha quite rapidly. At the stage of Namabas, when we are free from ignorance, when we are free from passion, through the mercy of Nam and Guru and Sadhu, we have the ability to develop a deeper and deeper Krishna Sambandha. And what does it entail? It entails knowing who we are, knowing who is Krishna, and being able to understand further and further as to how we could please him. So the Krishna Sambandha, as it increases, it transfers itself into perfect Abhideya. Service, which is service to Krishna. The service to Krishna, the manifestation of service to Krishna evolves. It evolves with a deeper understanding of Krishna Sambandha. As Krishna Sambandha increases, the quality of service increases. What we can offer in service is particularly related in direct proportion to what we know about ourselves and Krishna. Let us understand service. What is the best way to understand service? Consider that the best service a devotee could do is to chant Harinam. The best service one could do is chant Harinam. The best service. Because if you chant Harinam, the best service, then you start examining yourself to see where we are in the quality of service. How good is my service is to be seen from the quality of Harinam. Is during the chanting of Harinam, am I Sarvakama? Am I filled with all kinds of desires when I'm chanting Harinam that I can barely hear Nam? This is because my Krishna Sambandha is weak. As a consequence, when I'm chanting Harinam, I'm filled with sarvakama, and as a consequence, I'm not able to contribute to Nam. While chanting Harinam, am I able to absorb myself in Harinam? Am I able to recognize my Krishna Sambandha? Do I know which village in Vraj I'm a part of eternally? Do I know my name? I have a name in the spiritual sky. Do I know who is my guru, who is serving in the spiritual sky? Who is going to teach me how to serve Krishna? Do I know the little details of my service? The extent to which we are able to recognize our position in the spiritual sky, to that extent our service would manifest in a perfect manner. Consider this in Harinam. The extent to which I know who I am, to that extent I will call Krishna with love. When Mother Yashoda is calling Krishna, is she calling in Namabhas? Is she calling in Anartha Nivarti, Namaprad? No. When Mother Yashoda is calling Krishna, she has Sampurna Krishna Sambandha. She knows who she is in relationship to Krishna. She knows the object of her love. She knows this personality of Godhead. She knows this is my son. So her heart is filled with Vatsalya Bhav, and she is calling out Krishna. Now that is Abhideya. Abhideya, or service to the Lord, which comes after establishing a relationship, Krishna Sambandha, is to be experienced in Nam. We have to experience it in Nam. That's our litmus test. Keep it as a test. We use a litmus test in the laboratory to qualify one way or the other. Our ability to understand and render service is directly proportional to the quality of chanting that we do. If the quality of chanting is agitated with material desires, or if the quality of chanting is agitated with anxieties and fears of either what will not be accomplished or what has been accomplished, which has been sour, and being afraid of similar experiences, or if the quality of chanting is such that we basically are just wanting to be freed from all of this so that we could be peaceful, that is moksha kama. Material peace is not the objective of Krishna consciousness. Yes, that is the story. Material peace is not the objective of Krishna consciousness. Material desires are not the objective of Krishna consciousness. We do not want to set the bar so low. We want to understand how to measure our progress. While we sit for japa, we measure and see if we are sarvakama, very disturbed, anartha nivarti. Moksha kama, I am so disturbed, I just want to leave everything. Much better than sarvakama. I want to go beyond. Or am I in akama, where I am now peaceful, but peace is not the objective. There is no agitation due to the lower modes, and I'm calling out Nam. And if I spend 2 hours calling out Nam, most of it goes into and contributes to Nam. Then at that point, Krishna Sambandha comes very quickly, because we are higher and higher in this universe. We are very close to the spiritual sky. Great help becomes available. We have very little influence from the lower modes of passion and ignorance. So we have spoken about a few things. One, please calibrate your service based on chanting. If there's a lot of agitation, it means that there's a struggle with material desires, and this has to do with the process of anartha nivarti. We fall in the category of chanting with material desires. It doesn't mean we stop. It simply means we understand where we are. Our Krishna Sambandha is quite low. We are trying to increase our Krishna Sambandha. We are trying to make improvements. We are trying to come in touch with faith in different levels. That is where sadhana gets intensified. One becomes tired. One becomes very tired of this nonsense of daily struggle with no progress. They become so frustrated. They say, Krishna, please help me. On my own, I can do nothing. I'm unable to manage life. I've taken all kinds of decisions which are just more troublesome, one after the other. I am tired. I want more of Krishna consciousness. You take the driver's seat. You please drive ahead. You make the arrangements, Krishna. I give you my reins here. You drive the chariot fully. You take the chariot, you take control of my life. Do what you please. All I want is to be able to chant better. So now when this cry comes out from the heart quite sincerely, then these prayers are heard. Then there's reciprocation from the spiritual sky. You're not dealing with an empty sky. You're dealing with personalities who are constantly trying to serve Mahaprabhu, constantly trying to give mercy so that the soul is able to serve Mahaprabhu. This is a very special arrangement. This is a very special arrangement. Every demigod of any particular station, every authority knows the Yuga Dharma. They are constantly trying to facilitate those who are chanting Harinam. They're trying to facilitate this movement in so many different ways. Everybody knows the Yuga Dharma. If the Lord is descending and he establishes the Yuga Dharma and he says that this is the objective, everybody in his staff know this is basically like running a corporation. If the chairman of the corporation, the chairwoman of the corporation has a certain objective, then that objective is known. This objective is known to every demigod of every station. They're cooperating with us. They're making it easy for us. But we need to desire the Lord's objectives as well. And when we desire the Lord's objectives, we need to take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. We need to understand Nam is the best calibrator for our service. Am I a good servant? Is someone else a good servant? Chant. Find out if this chanting is Sarvakama, is the chanting Moksha Kama. Find out what is being desired in the heart. Are we desiring Krishna Sambandha, or are we being so agitated all the time? Which is not wrong, by the way. The best process to do so is to again continue chanting, but improving. But we need to know where we are. Do not proceed towards any goal if you can't really measure what you do. Our measure is increased Krishna Sambandha. How do we measure it? We measure it by chanting of Harinam. We measure where our consciousness is. We understand, okay, if I'm being very agitated, if I'm very fearful of what's going on out there, which means I'm in touch with the mode of ignorance. If I'm very fearful of what is going on out there, then I'm in touch with the mode of ignorance. If I'm very anxious about my plans, I'm in touch with the mode of passion. Find out what is agitating our mind. We would know the mode that we are in, which means we know that we are in trouble because we are a part of the mode of passion or good or ignorance. And when we are in passion and when we are in ignorance, knowledge will not be available. How can we know Sambandha Gyan, which is so sublime? Sambandha Gyan is so sublime, it's a part of the spiritual world. It is our eternal existence. When something is very sublime, when something is very subtle, do not expect to know that when we are in passion and ignorance. That is the reason why it is said that people who are in passion and ignorance, they can't have visions of the future. They would not be able to assist the world because they really can't have proper visions. They cannot. Because vision is all about knowing subtle phenomena. Vision is all about knowing what is sublime. And what is sublime is to be experienced in the higher levels of consciousness. When one really agitates their mind, wanting to move forward into higher levels of consciousness and increasing the Krishna Sambandha, then by increasing the Krishna Sambandha, they would be able to serve better. But can you increase Krishna Sambandha while you are in passion and ignorance? No, that's why it's called Anartha Nivrti. That is the reason why Sarvakama is Anartha Nivrti. Moksha Kama is equal to basically the objective of wanting to reach the stage of Namabhas. And then when we reach the stage of Namabhas, where we are freed from the passion and ignorance for the large part, then all our efforts go into chanting Harinam. Then Nam starts flowering in our hearts. And our Sambandha starts flowering in our hearts. We get to recognize who we are in the spiritual sky. When we recognize who we are in the spiritual sky, then we have the ability to serve the Lord. So service is directly dependent on us being able to recognize who we are. It's directly dependent. How do we recognize where we are in our sadhana? Again, it is through the process of Naam. So that is being conveyed here in the remaining part of chapter 3. What is very beautiful about the discussion that ensues is that Shaunaka Rishi is making a mention of Parikshit Maharaj's Sambandha to Sutta Goswami. He is not making a statement that Parikshit Maharaj knew Krishna. He is not making a statement that Parikshit Maharaj's grandfathers were all Krishna's pure devotees. He is not talking about family tradition. He is not talking about relationships that have been passed on through coming in touch because of family. He directly goes and says, even as a child, Parikshit Maharaj used to worship the deity of Krishna. Even as a child, which means he's talking about seva, the sambandha of seva. He is bringing in the sambandha of seva. Seva, service, brings a certain understanding, a relationship of a master and a servant. Shaunaka Rishi, he is bringing that into picture. What is he saying? Let's read the verses and we'll understand more. Verse 13, Shaunako Vacha. Shaunaka said, the son of Vyasadeva, Srila Sukadev Goswami, was a highly learned sage and was able to describe things in a poetic manner. What did Maharaj Parikshit again inquire from him after hearing all that he had said? O learned Sutta Goswami, please continue to explain such topics to us, because we are all eager to hear. Besides that, topics which result in the discussion of the Lord Hari should certainly be discussed in the assembly of devotees. It should certainly be discussed in the assembly of devotees, not everywhere, in the assembly of devotees. Because in the assembly of devotees, this is a very powerful statement. You see, it is said that the motivation of the speaker is also modified according to the maturity of the audience. If the audience is not mature, the realizations that are required to motivate them won't come. So a good preacher should be able to create a singular mind. If there are 50 people in the class sitting in front of the good preacher, he will create one single mind, not 50 different minds, and then he would start speaking katha. He is able to do that because of his prowess or her prowess, but it also depends on the maturity of the audience. The maturity of the audience will draw realizations from the heart of the speaker. As a consequence, Shaunaka Rishi here, he is clearly saying, listen, Sutta Goswami, please listen very carefully. Srila Sukadev Goswami was a great personality. Parikshit Maharaj was a great personality. When these two people are talking, there must have been so many amazing realizations that would come forth, because the speaker is highly qualified. The audience is also highly qualified because he is also very mature in his spiritual learning. So when the audience is very highly qualified and the speaker is very highly qualified, realizations will pour forth. Realizations are received and passed on based on the maturity of the audience. That is being spoken of here. That's why they are making a mention saying topics about Lord Hari should be discussed in the assembly of devotees. Because everybody in the assembly of devotee is very eager and in love with Krishna. Because they are very eager and they're quite mature in their sambandha, deep realizations would come from the heart of the speaker. So good speakers, they need good audiences as well in terms of being able to have a mature audience. A mature audience allows one to share deeper aspects of Krishna consciousness. This is a very mystical aspect. This is a very mystical aspect. Mystical in the sense that because it is so sublime and is so pure and so confidential, what is shared is automatically blocked or revealed based on the maturity of the person who is supposed to receive. So that's being given here. Lord Hari's topic, it should be discussed in the assembly of devotees. If you discuss it in the assembly of devotees, because the speaker is mature, Srila Sukadev Goswami, he is mature. He is a pure devotee. He is a servant of Krishna. Parikshit Maharaj is so dear to Lord Krishna. When two of them are sitting together, the discussion would be enormously beneficial because there would be so many wonderful, sublime truths that would come out from such a discussion. Maharaj Parikshit, the grandson of the Pandavas, was from his very childhood a great devotee of the Lord. Even while playing with dolls, he used to worship Lord Krishna by imitating the worship of the family deity. Now, he is interestingly not talking about the fact that he is the grandson of Arjun. He is talking about the sadhana or the attraction and the mood of Parikshit Maharaj. Quite interesting, because Krishna's uncle was Kamsa. He was not Anukul, he was Pratikul. Shishupal was a relative. Pratikul, he was against Krishna. So being related to Krishna and knowing Krishna in a certain way is being distinguished here by activity. What is the message being given to us in this particular verse? The message that's being given to us is, don't become subtle in understanding devotees. We will become very confused if you want to understand devotees from a subtle perspective. The safest way to understand a devotee is to see their practice. If their practice of the worship of the deity, the chanting of Harinam, if their understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam and the speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam is very mature, then we should understand that they have capacity on deeper sambandha. Sometimes we make assumptions about devotees and their intentions. We should be very careful. So here, Shaunaka Rishi is saying, don't judge devotees except by their external activity. Be very careful. See if they're worshipping sincerely. See if they're chanting sincerely. Because if they're chanting sincerely, they're worshipping sincerely, it is just a matter of time when they would be able to free themselves from other unwanted habits and other affiliations. Because sometimes we may make this statement, and we often see this. Sometimes we find that the behavior of people outside of Krishna consciousness is much better than some devotees. We find this. We don't want to be in denial. We see this in sanghas around the world. I've been around long enough to make this statement. Yeah, I've been around long enough to make this statement. Around the world, you will see sometimes the statement come through that the behavior of those practicing Krishna consciousness is less wonderful than those who are outside. In my workplace, they seem to be so mature and balanced in their outcomes and so on. Yes, maybe, but the devotees of the Lord, even if their behavior is less wonderful, are on the path of bhakti. They may be kanishtas. They may not be as evolved, but they are practicing Krishna consciousness and they're working very hard to go towards Krishna consciousness. Whilst they're doing it, they exhibit their previous symptoms of disease, but they're on the path. So we would still want to say that being with those on the path who are sincerely, externally practicing the tenets of Krishna consciousness is more motivating than with someone who has no connection with Krishna. That distinction is being brought forth here as well. He is not judging Parikshit by his relations with Krishna, neither is he judging Parikshit by where he came from. And being born in a family which is directly related to Krishna. He is Abhimanyu's son. He is judging Parikshit by practice, by motivation, by what the capacity of Parikshit Maharaj to motivate others. So we want to be very careful. Srimad Bhagavatam, it gives you clues in so many different ways on exactly how to observe your Krishna conscious society. Make the right choices, come to Srimad Bhagavatam. Sukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, was also full in transcendental knowledge and was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, son of Vasudeva. So there must have been a discussion of Lord Krishna, who is glorified by great philosophers and in the company of great devotees. This is what we are talking about. Amazing audience, amazing speakers. So there must have been so much which was shared because both work together. Both by the rising and by the setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of the all-good personality of Godhead. Now, the next question is, do the trees not live? Do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe? All around us, do the beasts not eat and discharge semen? Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, the deliverer from evils. One who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead, and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord, is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of the snakes and a tongue like the tongue of a frog. A frog makes all kinds of sounds, but what is being talked about here is that it is sobering. The present time in the world is very sobering. The whole world has come to a standstill. You know, last night here in Vrindavan, we are going from one season to the another, and mosquitoes start coming into play because now the heat is increasing, and as a consequence, mosquitoes, you have problems with mosquitoes in the night. And then I was trying yesterday, I want to share this because I was trying yesterday to stop the biting of the mosquito in the night so that I could sleep better. And I found that I was quite helpless in even swatting a little mosquito. I was quite helpless. So I was sitting up until very late because there was a little disturbance in terms of the conditions here, in terms of, you know, some mosquitoes coming in. Then I was just realizing how very out of control we are. We can't control anything. We cannot even control a little insect who is so smart that it is able to escape our swatting. We are extraordinarily, extraordinarily, deeply ignorant if we think we are in control. So that's what is being spoken of here. We are in an environment which is very sobering. It is very sobering. It is sobering because we can't control. The whole world has come to a complete standstill because of microbes, microorganisms that are not considered very intelligent, but which are being managed by a far higher source of power. These are kleshas. Klesha means suffering. These kleshas time and again come and go in the material world. But imagine the whole world has just come to a complete standstill. We can't even control a small little insect that is intending to cause harm to us and who can intend to cause a lack of peace in our surroundings. We don't have that ability. That's how powerless we are. So the point is that this is very sobering. So that's the point that's being made here, that how much time do you want to really invest in activities which are ultimately equated to the activities of the beasts? The beasts, they eat, sleep, mate, and defend, which is what we do. How much do you want to invest in it? So that's the question that's being asked of here. So here they're basically saying that if you want to listen to Krishna's messages, and if you want to listen to the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there has to be an interest and focus on Krishna consciousness, which has to be cultivated. There has to be. If you want to develop Krishna Sambandha, there has to be an investment in that activity. Bolstering an identity of developing an identity with Krishna in the center requires an investment of time, requires an investment of time and energy. The more time we invest and the more energy we put into this identity of being a servant of Krishna, the greater would be the outcome and the success. Because that's exactly how this is designed. The more time we put in establishing ourselves and our identities in this world, less useful it becomes as time progresses, because it has no meaning at some point. We are simply increasing complexities. So the message of simplicity and the message of wanting and a need for focus on the identity of being a servant of Krishna is being bolstered by these messages where they are saying a beast would eat, a beast would mate, a beast would sleep. What is the point? How much time are you going to invest in activities which are related to that which an animal accomplishes with ease? An animal accomplishes this with ease. Why would you want to invest so much into it? There has to be some level where we say, okay, I've done what is required. Now I need to focus on the identity of developing Krishna Sambandha, on the identity of being a servant of the Lord. So that being talked about here. So I'm going to stop here today. We will continue again the following week. And I just want to quickly summarize. We went into the three different states of Sarvakama, Mokshakama, and Akama. We equated Sarvakama, Mokshakama, Akama to the levels of progress within Krishna consciousness. We spoke about the overarching goal given by Srila Rupa Goswami of Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. Why was it given? Because we come into Krishna consciousness with Sarvakama. We then become frustrated and we develop a focus on Moksha Kama. We wanted to stress the fact that achieving things in the material world, not being free from them, is a goal in Krishna consciousness. These are means to an end. Purification is not a goal. Peace is not a goal in Krishna consciousness. It's a means to an end. Then we spoke of the fact that the objective of the liberated soul begins at Nishta. Being freed from the influence of ignorance and passion is to be in Nishta for most part. Then we start receiving greater and greater knowledge about our relationship with Krishna. Krishna Sambandha becomes more prolific at the level of Nishta. Because Sambandha improves, Seva improves. Without Sambandha, there is no Seva. Because Sambandha improves, Seva improves. So for Abhideya, Sambandha is required. Greater Sambandha means greater Abhideya, better Abhideya. That's exactly what the motivations are. So we spoke about the connection between the modes of nature, traversing different levels of consciousness, and reaching the certain level of consciousness even within the material universe, situating ourselves at the gates of the spiritual sky, receiving information about who we are, and then we are able to call upon Nam. How do you know if we are proper servants? Pick up the bead bag, and we will know if we are proper servants. Because when the bead bag and our chanting of Nam improves, we know that our service is improving, because the greatest service that we could do is to follow the Yuga Dharma. That is the greatest service, greatest. So when we make improvements in Nam, we automatically make improvements in everything else. We understand that. Why? Because as we make improvements and have deeper realizations in Nam, we understand that Sambandha is improving. When Sambandha improves, one realizes how to serve. So we stop here and we take questions. If you have any comments, we'll take comments. You have to unmute yourself. So it is set up to just make you mute, mute the participants. So you have to unmute yourself before you speak.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for the class. After listening to this class, one question came to me, because what I see at this moment, what I experience, because anyway, I'm not like whatever I'm going to say, it's not going to be particularly to devotee, but what I'm experiencing and what I'm seeing. You did mention if you really want to know, you don't want to make any comments, but if you really want to know that they are really following, see whether they are chanting, whether they are worshipping, they are really connected to Krishna. So there may be devotees who speaks very eloquently, very wisely, but when it comes to their sadhana, sometimes a bit shocking. So, and I personally, I get really like worried. Oh my God, I don't want to be around, or I don't want to get into this. It's better I should move away from them, because it's going to be difficult for me otherwise. I may also get into the same habit. I never know. Anyway, I'm struggling. That's apart from that. So what do you think about it? Because how they speak, and it was a real experience. I couldn't really imagine. Maybe you are at very good kirtan, yeah, you must be doing very nice kirtans and all that. But when it's come to daily sadhana, it's mind blowing, being honest. So how could I understand this type of situation, and what should I do about it?
Well,
My spiritual life.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
See, the first point is that association, by definition, is with those who can inspire us to chant, inspire us to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, inspire us to engage in seva to the deities, inspire us to, be a part of the Dham. You see, some devotees, they speak with so much love about the Dham that we are inspired to visit the Dham. So by association, it's a matter of inspiration. That's what we're talking about. When we talk about association, we're talking about inspiration. So the question is, if you're around those whom you see as not following the standards or not chanting Harinam, etc., or it is too bewildering for you where you feel that you can't be inspired by them because you're afraid that their influence could be negative on you, it is not a wrong idea to disassociate. That is the first point. You don't need to have regular association with such personalities. You have a choice. You can disassociate. Now, the second point is as follows. If you are not senior to them, and especially if you do not have a relationship of instructing them, please don't instruct them.
Good. Yes.
Siksha should come from those who have the ability to inspire others.
Yeah, that's right.
If we hear from someone and we're inspired by their sharing and it motivates us to engage in bhakti yoga, then you can consider them to be a Siksha connection because Krishna is using them to attract you. Then such a person, when they instruct us, when they chastise us, they have a right to do so because Krishna is using them to attract us.
Yeah.
Because this is Krishna chastising us. This is Krishna correcting us. So that's the reason why we don't go out of the way to really chastise and criticize and find fault and make others correct, especially if you don't have such a relationship and they're not inspired by us. So that's the first parameter of whom we can correct and whom we can instruct.
Yeah.
Now, the second point is if they are not senior to you, if they're senior to you, then out of the question, you can approach someone who is their mentor, who is their authority, and share your misgivings saying, I could be wrong, and this is where I stand. I find that this is happening. There seems to be a contradiction. I'm worried about the influence of this. So this particular sharing can be done in confidence, especially if you know someone who is senior to them. So that's the best way to do it. So I made a mention of 3 points. Number one, there is no need to associate if they can't inspire. There is no need to associate. Inspiration and association are equal. We associate for inspiration. That's our point.
Yeah.
Second point is we do not correct if we don't have the ability to inspire others. We don't correct because then it becomes resentful. Then they would say that you're fault finding, etc., etc. It becomes a political mess. Yeah. The third point is the best thing to do is to identify someone who is the superior, the senior, and then share your misgivings with them so that whoever they are inspired by has the ability to help them. See, ultimately, we are in the position, we are in the business of wanting to assist. We want to remember Lord Nityananda at all times. And we want to remember the fact that there's a big difference between being weak and being offensive. Sorry, there's a big difference between being weak and being offensive. There are devotees who are very weak. Then it becomes our position to assist them. That is the reason why, if you notice in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahaprabhu helped Kaliya Krishnadas. This was a servant of Mahaprabhu who was a personal servant of Mahaprabhu. You can imagine he is receiving association from Gauranga himself. And this servant of Mahaprabhu runs away when he sees some women who are basically attracting him from the gypsy community, the Bhattaharis. He runs away. Mahaprabhu doesn't chastise him, reject him. He understands that this servant of his is not an offender. he is weak.
Mm.
So he goes and grabs him by the hand, drags him back to the temple. He basically, he doesn't give him the same service, but he basically says, okay, this is where it is. You need to be brought back. So we need to understand that there are weak devotees. Weak devotees does not mean offensive devotees. We want to be clear. If there are weak devotees, Lord Nityananda is waiting to assist them. If there are offensive devotees, they cannot receive the mercy of Gauranga. So that's how we have to decide this. So if there are weak devotees, then we offer prayers to Lord Nityananda so that they could come out of this. So that's our business. Our business is to be able to offer assistance one way or the other. So this way, we don't really look at someone and get so caught up with what they are, but instead we are trying to be of some use to the parampara.
Okay, Prabhu, just the one last thing I want to ask. How is it, just I walk away, I don't want to get into it at all. It's not that I'm not judging them or anything. I just walk away because they seems to be very learned, and they're quite young, but they have taken initiation some time back, even much before me, I could say. They're quite young. So I personally see, and it is better to go away without getting into anything, not to make any judgments, just because of my, it will affect my well-being, my spiritual well-being. Will
Yes,
that be a move?
yeah, that is, yes, you can do that and you can offer prayers.
Okay.
If you cannot intervene, you can't talk to someone who is senior, who is also close to you, whom you can share your heart and confidence. You see, you should be able to share your heart and confidence with whoever is senior. And so that it doesn't become a politically motivated situation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say is that you should be able to share your heart and confidence with their seniors, who is also someone whom you have confidence in. If you cannot do that, the next step is for you to stay away and then pray from a distance.
Yeah. Okay.
Nothing wrong in moving away from something which doesn't look right. Nothing wrong. You're not being offensive. You are simply being careful. And if you're not going to be careful, there's trouble.
Yeah.
It's better to be careful in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
Remember that this is what we are advised to do. We are advised to be careful. We are advised to discriminate. We are advised not to offend, but we are advised to use our intelligence to discriminate. But we are advised to follow procedure in approaching those whom we feel are initiated before us. And it is better to follow procedure when someone is initiated before us. It's better, always better.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't want to get into this at all because okay, thank you very much, Babu, because this was really troubling me. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for a nice lecture. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, you just gave example of Mahaprabhu helps someone. I want to know the name.
This is basically Kaliya Krishna Das. It is basically a servant of Mahaprabhu who runs away because he is allured by some women. And Mahaprabhu drags him back after confronting this group who have taken him away. So he saves him and he brings him back.
Yeah, I heard in a lecture that this point. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Any other question or comment?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you for the lovely lecture, Prabhuji. Actually, we talked about the relationship with the other devotees. But the thing is that when we are trying to preach our family members, we have a relationship with them. But even after that, we are not able to convince them to chant or convince them to follow KC. Now the thing is that what is our limitations, like how much we should force them when we really want them to be in Krishna consciousness, and to some extent we are forcing them as well, and how much should we leave it to Krishna?
We leave everything to Krishna, that's the first point, but the steps that we could take safely, we should follow the instruction of Srila Rupa Goswami, where he said, Seva unmukehi jihva adav. So seva has to start from the tongue. So how do you motivate someone who is not motivated otherwise? Nobody is going to be impressed by the regulative principles. Nobody is impressed by austerities. Nobody is impressed by things that they can't really experience sensually. Because in the material world, everybody wants to experience things and feel happiness from it. So what do? We give them an experience of prasadam, and then we give them an experience of kirtan. So if there are those who are not motivated, then you bring them into kirtan programs, you feed them sumptuous prasadam, be very kind to them. When you bring them to kirtan programs, or when you bring them to the Rath Yatra, etc. in your area, engage them in some very small seva, even once. Because once you engage them in any small seva, then the process would begin. The process which begins at that point in time need not take full form and blossom in the same lifetime even. Sometimes some souls come in touch with Krishna consciousness for the first time in one lifetime, and then they got to wait for an opportunity altogether into a subsequent lifetime. This is the unfortunate situation, but it is true. It happens all the time. So you give an opportunity. So our business is to provide opportunities. Our business is to provide opportunities in an intelligent way, where we enthuse them with prasadam and we enthuse them with kirtan, because these are pleasurable activities. This is what we do. By doing so, they would feel motivated. Nobody is going to be motivated by any form of strict, I would say, discipline. Because what are they going to gain from it? They can't really see the gain immediately. So that would be my advice. Of course, our prayers make a difference as well. We could chant, if you're very close to them, then you chant and you make a request to Nityananda Ram, you make a request to Lord Gauranga. But what you can do, bring them to kirtan programs, feed them prasadam, and at the same time, please do give them an opportunity to engage in some kind of service.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. But the thing is that if we are not physically there with them, and maybe they are too far off from us, and they even don't have any association there, so what is the way out then?
If you're too far away from them and they don't have any association, are they in a place where they have the ability to come into any kirtan or festival?
No, Prabhuji.
Then you can offer them or give them some prasad that you could send. Or you could,
okay.
Yeah, I think what you need to do is have an understanding that they need to come in touch with Krishna, but bring them in touch with Krishna in very powerful, pleasant ways. That's the best way, that's best strategy. Wait for an opportunity. And until you wait for an opportunity, when you're waiting for an opportunity, you strengthen yourself. That would help immensely.
Sure, thank you, Prabhuji.
Sure.
Haribol.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, when we talk about that, we have to be on the ground of goodness. So, can you give some, practical tips or points that how to sustain that goodness? What we need to do practically?
Yes, the very practical steps from a perspective of worship to improve the mode of goodness is for us to worship Srila Prabhupada, do Guru Puja. There is a reason why Guru Puja is recommended in the morning it increases our ability and influence of the mode of goodness. It increases our ability to keep the mode of passion and ignorance from influencing us. So Guru Puja is very important. The second, of course, is to be able to follow the principles given that would increase goodness, which can be found in any basic instruction booklet. You would have to basically wake up in the morning at a certain time. Our diet has to change so that it suits the mode of goodness. Then these are all activities that can be done for us to be able to be situated in goodness. So my recommendation, do Guru Puja, find a place where you can be consistent to chant. Let it be the same place every day, same time every day. And this in turn would allow you to slowly, steadily take control of the circumstance and increase the quality of your sadhana.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, can I? Sorry.
Yes. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question, Prabhu? Prabhu, what would be? Is there any particular time that I can recite Sad Goswami Ashtakam? Is there any particular time which is good? Because
There
I don't
isn't.
know.
No, there isn't actually. Sorry. Go ahead. Finish. Please finish.
I said I was inspired of late to chant this Ashtakam. So I was doing it. Then I thought, no, let me ask you whether there is any particular time we should do.
You could do it just after Guru Puja.
Yeah. Okay. This is what I was doing. Okay. Yeah. After Narasimha prayers.
Well, you could do it just after Guru Puja. Basically, whenever you do Guru Puja and then you complete Guru Vandana, you could then meditate on the activities of the Goswamis to be inspired by our predecessors.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else? Any comments? Okay, so we'll end today's session. Oh, there is a question on chat. It's basically, the question is about the circumstances or about the future of ISKCON and the dependence of ISKCON and the devotee community on the very artificial circumstances of the world and what would be the future. You see, when we want to talk about the future of a movement such as ours, it simply means that our movement requires two things, not just one. We can't have a discussion like a private corporation deciding on how this corporation is going to exist in the future, because all of a sudden you have a crisis. There is an issue with money, there's an issue with the economy, there's an issue with uncertainty of health, so many other things. So a private corporation would strategize, they would focus on what they could do to reinvent themselves, they would find newer markets, they would find perhaps newer products, they would find what they could do to reinvent themselves. All of this is done by a private corporation as a matter of strategy on how to reposition themselves given the new reality. We cannot stop with just that. We cannot. Our practice requires very, very deep bhajan. It requires very, very deep Krishna consciousness. Our practice requires very, very deep chanting. When we chant with great absorption, we also need to plan the future. So our planning is going to be powered by deep chanting. Please don't think that we can follow in the footsteps of the outside world. There is a need for strategy, and that strategy discussion and the strategy for future, etc. This was seen by the leaders of a movement several times. In Mayapur, you have a place where Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya Prabhu, and others sat down and discussed the future of the movement and strategized on how the mission could be spread. Please remember that our mission has always been spread under duress. our devotees and Vaishnavas have always functioned against very difficult circumstances. During Mahaprabhu's times, they were oppressed by the Muslims, the Nawabs in Bengal and other parts of India. During Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's time, you had Aurangzeb in Delhi who was destructing all the temples. Some of the best realizations and the works that were coming out of our movement came during these times. These were very difficult, austere times. When times become very austere, the Brahmanas have an opportunity to come and shine through, because austerity is a function and strength of the Brahmanical community. Ours is a society of Brahmanas in one sense. There are other personalities within our society, but it is a society of Brahmanas. During a time when there's great austerity, the Brahmanas thrive. They can function with less, they can function in uncertainty. This is a blessing of the Brahmanical community because they are in the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, you can handle uncertainty. You can. In the mode of goodness, you can sustain yourself through austerities. As a consequence, those who are Brahmanical, they do better during duress. A lot of wonderful things did happen during great challenges in the past in our movement. So the point I'm trying to make is, it is not either or. It is not a matter of simply sitting down and chanting. Neither is it a matter of doing what corporations do. It's a combination of both. We first need to go very deep into our sadhana, because purity is our force. Purity is a force. Without purity, we are not going to achieve anything. When I use the word purity, I'm talking about being closer to our Krishna Sambandha. That is our purpose. That is our force. That is our, that is our strength. That is where our strength lies. So since purity is a force, we first have to purify ourselves. We first have to focus on our sadhana. We need to go deeper into our Nam Bhajan. When we go deep enough, then we would have insight. Because we are in touch with spiritual nature, we will have insight. Krishna will tell us what to do in our hearts. This is seen in the Bhagavad Gita. He tells us very clearly, I'll preserve what you have, I'll carry what you lack. But for us to be preserved by Krishna and to be carried by Krishna, deep surrender is required. As a consequence, we practice our bhajan very seriously during these very difficult times. It doesn't mean we don't plan, but planning alone won't cut it. Then what's the difference between us and the corporations out there? If all we are going to do is just get agitated and be in the mode of passion, we are constantly thinking, oh, I don't have money, we don't have money, the bank accounts are empty, we can't pay this, we can't do that. This is the mode of passion. This agitation is the mode of passion. If you're a Brahmana, which is our movement, which is a Brahmanical movement, then we perform austerities. Realizations come through. Then we enrich the world through realizations. Great, great works in our line came through during very difficult times. Great, great works. So let us not be demotivated by what goes on out there, but let us not follow in the footsteps of the world. Let us understand that what we are being given is a direct line, a direct contact with the Supreme Lord. And we hear in the Brahma Samhita prayers, thousands and crores of Lakshmis are serving Krishna. So when we are in touch with the personality who is being served by thousands and thousands, crores, hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis, then where is the need for so much anxiety about how he is going to sustain us? So our business is to follow in the footsteps of our acharyas. We go deeper into our bhajan. By going deeper and deeper into Nam Bhajan, then we have an opportunity for us to be able to understand what to do for the future, because the intelligence will come from that activity. Krishna will sustain us. As we go deeper and deeper into Nam Bhajan, Krishna will give us insight on what to do and what not to do. And then we can strategize for the future. So this is the combination of both. It's not one or the other. It is just not a matter of saying that you can buy a bunch of acres of land and then you could just go off and start farming. How many of us can really farm? We don't know. The point I'm trying to make is a solution won't be clear unless the purpose is set. The purpose is to go deeper into Nam. When we go deeper into Nam, the ways and means for us to sustain ourselves and the movement would be revealed. That is what is required. That is the need of the hour. Yeah. There's no need for us to think that we should do one or the other.
Hare Krishna, Mahaprabhuji, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I was just wondering that the lecture is totally amazing today. I mean, just need to understand what we need to do at the moment to go deeper and to understand our relationship with Krishna. That starts with Sambandha, then Abhideya, and then Prayojan. But I was just trying to see that Sambandha, developing Sambandha is to develop the mood to serve Krishna and then start serving in that line, basically, according to that. But to reach to Sambandha, I've also heard, I mean, I might be wrong, that we need to be very deeper in our sadhana and doing Gayatri, chanting Gayatri mantras at certain period in day to make ourselves more closer and to understand our relationship with Krishna. And that happens as we start chanting Gayatri. And the process to reach there is to take Brahmanical initiation and get those sacred mantras from Guru. Is it process that we need to follow, or still we need to continue chanting sadhana mantra, basically Maha mantra, and then the things will follow? But that process we'll have to reach to realize our relationship. Is it what I'm thinking is correct, Prabhuji?
I will explain this. First and foremost, to go back to the spiritual sky and to serve Krishna, one requires only Harinam. Harinam alone is more than sufficient to take us back to the spiritual sky. One does not require second initiation to go back to the spiritual sky. Harinam alone is sufficient. This is the first point. Okay? The second point is, for us to be able to serve and to improve our ability to chant, there are different activities that can be done. One of them is deity worship. By taking second initiation and receiving the Gayatri mantra and being able to chant the Gayatris that are given by the Guru, then one has the ability to accelerate in our ability to serve the deity of the Lord. By serving the deity of the Lord, we improve our sambandha, and as a consequence, we are also able to chant. So the point I'm trying to make is that that definitely helps, but I wanted to clarify that we are not at a disadvantage with just Harinam. We just need Harinam. There is no disadvantage. I just want to clarify that.
Wonderful, Prabhuji. Just one thing which I'm just trying to understand is that Sambandha can also be developed while chanting Harinam and nothing more than that.
Exactly. See, ultimately, Harinam is what grants us everything. Harinam is non-different from Krishna. So it grants us everything.
Wonderful, Prabhuji. Thank you. That's really nice understanding you've given. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, if someone has not developed connection with deity worship more, I mean the basic deity worship is we are doing but not much, but has interest in chanting and Harinam, is that sufficient for now?
Yes.
Will as the sambandha will increase, then deity, then the interest to serve deities will come automatically, or how will it go?
It depends. Yeah, it depends. In terms of, it depends on how what is required for the devotee at that point in time. Some devotees would just be motivated by increasing to chant Harinam. Some others would want to serve the deity. Some others would go deeper into Srimad Bhagavatam. So it depends. It need not be one or the other is the point.
So one should not feel that I'm not sufficiently doing deity worship and I have more connection with chanting and Harinam, and
No, there
that one should
is,
not
yeah.
repent or something in mind.
No, there isn't a need, but there isn't a need for us to feel one way or the other. But the point I'm just trying to make is that every day we would want to reflect and see if what we are doing itself, are we doing it properly? Because there's so much scope to improve in just what we're doing. So there really isn't a need for us to think that I have to do 5 other things for me to succeed. The point is, are you doing what's being given to us properly? So I think that is more important. So I think a lot of energy has to be put into what is being done as of today. And then once we reach our limits in terms of being able to give what we can fully, Krishna will make arrangements for us to receive more.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. So
Oh,
is there, yes, go ahead, please. Hello? Yes.
Yeah, sorry, Prabhuji. Yeah, Prabhuji, so I just wanted to clarify, is chanting sadhana or service? So if we are chanting, for us, so it's a service or a sadhana?
It is both, because chanting is sadhana, it is also sadhya. It is the goal, it is also the process. It is also a service, because without us being able to call upon the Lord's names, glorifying Krishna is considered to be a service as well. It is one of the most important services. So it is both. So you're qualifying yourself to serve in the spiritual sky, but you're also serving while chanting Harinam. It's both. It is like saying that if someone is going to really learn how to cook well, then if they're going to put the energy into a lot of energy into learning how to cook well, then they would be able to be a good cook. So in which case, what I'm trying to say is it is one and the same in that sense. So when we're calling upon Harinam, we are serving, because that's the greatest service one can perform in aligning ourselves with Mahaprabhu's movement. But when we qualify ourselves by chanting, we would automatically be motivated to serve better, because our sambandha would increase. When we serve more, then we would understand that we need to know Krishna, so we read more. And when we read more, we understand our experiences. So faith goes from one place to another. It really becomes very strengthened. So chanting is service. Chanting is also preparation for better service.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to see if I can answer a couple of questions that have come on chat, and then we will end the session. When one goes through a lot of struggle in life, one understands that nothing is under one's control and turns to Krishna wholeheartedly. You call out to Krishna with all your heart, yet there are times when this consciousness is not present. How can one go through this consciousness and remain there always? Yes, it's a matter of us being able to situate ourselves in the higher levels of consciousness consistently. So this is basically going up and then staying there. That would happen when we are completely free from the influence of the lower modes of nature. Until we are in touch with the lower modes of nature, it happens sometimes and then we get pulled down. It happens sometimes and we get pulled down. So it's a matter of evolution and reaching a higher stage. Then it becomes very steady. That's why we call it Nishta. So it's a matter of evolution. So the stage of sometimes finding ourselves in a spot where we can really call out for Krishna's names, and then we don't feel that, is a stage as well. So we need to progress from there to a point where we are always there with intensity. Is there any other question? We end with this otherwise. I'll just give 1 minute to see if there's any other question. Okay, we end this session, and very soon the recordings will be made available as well on chat, and we will do that shortly. So thank you very much for joining us. If anybody wants to reach out, you can do so personally, and you can write to me if there's any need for you to reach out. Hare Krishna.